Well, let's get a check on how some of the day's top news stories are being seen online and in other media outlets with James Creedon. Hi there, James.
Hi, Catherine.
In fact, I think it's going to be pretty much all about my country today.
That's right.
Talking about Britain. Everyone worried about that famous word, the Brexit. Are they going to leave the European Union? And lots of reaction in the press to what David Cameron has brought back from Brussels.
That's right. And the front pages of a lot of the British tabloids, at least, have been very critical of David Cameron. A fair degree of spitting and gnarling of teeth in tabloid style. Who do you think you are kidding, Mr. Cameron? That's a very original wordplay there by The Sun. You also have Cameron's deal is a joke. That's pretty straight down the line, negative from the Daily Express. And then you have Nigel Farage of the UKIP party being given just basically free space to have a big rant, also in the Daily Express. In any case, David Cameron did, I suppose, make a valiant effort to defend the deal, but he, as the Daily Mirror points out, was really getting a lot of criticism and a lot of flack from within his own party. Watch him being humiliated, says the Daily Mirror, by 23 of his own MPs. So certainly, yes, there is a lot of criticism in his own party.
And a lot of politicking going on because this has been a massive issue for the Conservative Party in the UK for years and years. I feel like my entire life we've been talking about whether the Tories want to stay in Europe or not.
Different stages of the same debate.
And a lot of what's coming out today is from his own party.
That's right. And indeed, Dan Hodges for the Telegraph is saying he really is actually now going to call the Eurosceptics bluff, the Eurosceptics within his own party, because a lot of people have been saying, you know, in or out, etc., etc. But these people who are supposedly saying that they want to join the out campaign don't want to resign. Ministers in his own government are not courageous enough to step outside of government and to actually lead the out campaign. So he thinks really that what happened today is the Eurosceptics were proven to be all mouth and no lederhosen Eurosceptics within his party in any case. And that on Tuesday, Cameron finally called the Eurosceptics bluff. Here is the deal, back it or oppose it. So that's one take on things. Over at The Independent, they have this question, which would lead you to think that the article is very anti-EU. What has the European Union ever done for us? And actually, the article is a catalogue of quite positive things.
Oh, that's nice.
From giving you the freedom to live, work and retire anywhere in Europe.
There's France there.
France, I think, is there. That looks like it is. Well, it is France. That's what she just said. I didn't hear that. But indeed, lots of Brits abroad in the EU would agree with that one. It sustains millions of jobs, etc., etc. I quite like this one on the new BBC Newsbeat website. What do you mean we break down the EU in Bieber lyrics?
That is inspired.
We're not actually going to do it in Media Watch. But all right, okay, we'll do one or two. What do you mean? Apparently that's a Bieber lyric. Is it?
I'm not going to sing it for you, but yes, it is.
What do you mean? So then they explain what the deal is. Sorry,
etc.
But I can't win trying to compromise. Anyway, it's a very novel idea, and I think it will help clear things up for some people who are interested in Bieber and the EU.
I wonder if Justin Bieber knows anything about it. It's another story entirely.
Probably not. Now, for a more serious take on it, Politico.eu, which is increasingly becoming one of the go-to websites for EU news, 12 reasons why Cameron will lose on Brexit. So this is a sort of pessimistic look at things.
Very sad there.
And there's another catalogue, and they're blaming, in fact, Europeans and the influx of, I suppose, people from other EU countries. That's one of the 12 reasons. They say, really, they work hard, pay taxes, pay rent and fill the churches, but for the average Brit, too many have arrived too fast, and so the cry to regain control of our frontiers resonates. Anyway, it's an interesting read in terms of how it might go against, say, David Cameron. Another interesting blog post on the Channel 4 website. This is an interesting one, the correlation between Brexit and the drive for Scottish independence. And what they've done here is they have looked at, they asked Welsh people, Scottish people and English people about their in-out position, and it was much more in favour of in Scotland and Wales, and they have noted a correlation between English nationalism and Brexit. But what is interesting here is that could worry some, because if Brexit leads to Scottish independence, it's not necessarily what UK unionists would want. So it's an interesting correlation, and I think that article too is
really is, because one of the big arguments for a lot of people in the independence debate over Scotland was that Scotland overwhelmingly does want to remain in the EU. So
Right. So I think
interesting angle.
There's a lot of people who do, perhaps in England, who would like to be out of the EU. They wouldn't necessarily like Scotland to remain in or be independent and then join the EU. So there aren't
Such an
necessarily
intricate web of interests.
The two unions and
Well,
the two questions.
Speaking of Europe,
yes,
what has the press reaction been across the continent?
That's right. In the other European countries, Cameron is in a race against time to avoid Brexit. That's the take in Le Figaro, because of course he has said that he will push ahead with the referendum at the beginning of the summer. A lot of people saying that that's too soon, but he doesn't want the anti-side to get too much wind in their sails.
Isn't it? The less people hear about it, the more
Right.
likely they are to say, "Oh, let's just stay."
That's right. So in any case, a race against time for Le Figaro. This is the Tribune de Genève. Now they're saying, don't be fooled by the roast beef, the apple crumble and the smoked salmon, which apparently they had over dinner. This is a high stakes game.
Order, I hope.
Probably not. David Cameron must prove that he has won this arm wrestle with Brussels. So it's not a fun dinner with the EU. Now, meanwhile, El País is quite negative about the deal, saying actually the perception that there is a huge flow of migration towards the UK and the need for emergency breaks, etc., is a misperception, and actually Italy, Spain and other EU countries have much greater flows of migrants. Just very, very quickly, we have the hashtag battle online. Will it be between Brexit or UK in EU, which unfortunately doesn't have quite the same ring to it. We'll see if it picks up steam over time, and we'll leave you with this delightful image from the Guardian cartoonist Steve Bell. Maybe I shouldn't have shown you that, but it is all over the Guardian for anyone who sees that. Sorry.
We'll leave our viewers to interpret that themselves, whichever way they wish. Thank you very much, James
I had to do
Creedon.
that.
Yes, you did.
Thanks, Catherine.
Thank you.